Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Financially Fit Podcast. I am your host, Andre Creighton. As always, you know I'm excited to be with you all here tonight. Last week, we talked about pricing and understanding how we need to price our product or service. And it's only right that this next episode is about cash flow, right? Now we've got the optimal pricing, we're getting customers, we've talked about a budget, and now we need to understand like, now that we have these fundamental things in place, how are we monitoring our cash flow? What are the things that we need to know about cash flow to continue to drive our business forward and be able to grow? But first, for those that continue to come back to the podcast, thank you so much. I've been getting a lot of, uh, I've heard from our people internally that more people are listening to the podcast and tuning in. So I truly appreciate you all. And if you can continue to share it with other people, hopefully this is something that can continue to help other business owners. I think over the first couple of years, we talked a lot about personal finance, and now we've kind of shifted into talking more about business. So, small businesses, founders, entrepreneurs, this is for you, right? And to give you a little background for those that are new, I have been a founder myself. I launched a tech company back in 2020 that has been humbly pretty successful. I work in my day job as a CFO. I work with founders and entrepreneurs as a fractional for a large CPA firm every single day. So I see a lot of different businesses across various industries, but specifically technology is the industry that I like to focus on. So hopefully this can help you as you continue to think about your business. So we've talked about a lot of the fundamentals, and now it's time to train your core. It's just like in fitness. A strong core keeps everything stable. In business, your core is your cash flow. And if it's weak, your whole business struggles. So this is a very, very important episode because it is the core of how we train our business and we train our mind to think differently about how we grow and scale our business. So my promise to you today is that we'll break down how to manage cash flow like a pro so your business has balance, flexibility, and endurance. So let's hop in. So first, I guess, why does cash flow matter? Well, cash flow matters because 82% of businesses failures trace back to poor cash flow management. So let's unpack that. What does that mean? Well, what it means is that a lot of businesses are likely flying by the seat of their pants, right? They're and it's not their fault necessarily. You know, a lot of owners, founders, entrepreneurs are visionaries, right? They have this grand vision of what the business can be, and that's what they like to focus on, right? And oftentimes, because finance accounting is not seen as a profit center, right? Even though the stories and the data points that you can get from your financials can drive profits, it's not seen as a center that can truly produce revenue, right? So a lot of times finance and accounting is forgot as an afterthought. But a lot of entrepreneurs and founders, they like to focus on marketing, they want to focus on sales, they want to focus on their technology if they're a technology company, right? They want to focus on their product or service and how do they drive that to their customers, right? But what I can tell you is that accounting and finance is one of the only functions that touches every single cross-functioning system within a business, whether that's your technology, whether that's your marketing, whether that's your people, whether that's your sales, whether that is your operations. Like, finance and accounting is at the center of that, and that's why cash flow is so important. So cash flow does not equal profit. I think that's very important to understand. Just because you have positive cash flow does not mean that you potentially are profitable, because there could be many reasons why you have positive cash flow, right? Maybe it's not derived from business operations. Maybe it's derived because you took out a loan, and you had a huge capital infusion, or maybe you got some investment dollars, right? So just because you're cash flow positive during a period does not mean that necessarily that you're profitable. So um, it's important to understand that you can be profitable on paper and broke in reality. So we want to make sure that we truly understand what is cash flow, and how do we monitor it, and what is the story that it tells us. So you might ask yourself, what does good cash flow means? Good cash flow means bills are paid on time, meaning on time, meaning, if you get terms, so let's say it's net 30 or net 45, or maybe it's net 15, whatever those terms are, we want to make sure that those bills are paid timely. And we want to make sure that they're not paid any earlier than that, right? We want to maximize the terms that we're given so we can float cash, right? And that's how we continue to monitor our cash and be able to have good sound cash flow. Um, the other piece of good cash flow means you can take advantage of opportunities. So if you have good cash flow, maybe you're more a bank views you as more lendable, right? They're more willing to lend to you, maybe give you good debt, right? Maybe you're able to go out and raise more capital because you have the traction that you need, and they're seeing that you're monitoring your cash flow and you're doing a great job from a cash flow perspective. And then the last thing, good cash flow means you avoid the debt traps. So while debt can be helpful and so can raising capital, we want to be smart about when we take that debt. And we want to get smart debt, right? Meaning that we want to negotiate terms, we want to negotiate the best interest rate. When we are going to raise capital, we want to negotiate favorable terms and fair terms to the investors too, right? But we want to be able to avoid the debt traps because debt will always be there. There will always be a vehicle or a way for you to get debt. What it comes down to is how expensive is that debt. So, I'll leave you with this. At the end of the day, cash flow is your oxygen. Without it, nothing else works. So if you don't have good cash flow, ultimately you likely don't have good oxygen, which means that you suffocate, meaning that your business is going to suffocate. So it's very important that we take cash flow very seriously. We understand where everything is going and when we're paying, when it's coming in, and the timing differences of that and being able to monitor that. So let's talk about the five strengths, your 5 ways to strengthen your cash flow. So number one, take every track every dollar in and every dollar out. So we want to get into a weekly habit of this, not just monthly. We want to be a weekly habit. If you ever heard some companies, you might have heard them say, "Yep, we're going to pull together a 13-week cash flow," right? This is so important because at the end of the day, what a 13-week cash flow is really it's a quarterly cash flow, but we're looking at it on a weekly basis. So we want to be able to truly understand ahead of time what's going in over the next, week and what's going out. Um, there's lots of tools that we can use to monitor cash flow. QuickBooks, there's Wave. You can do it in Excel or Google Sheets. There's lots of ways that we can do this. There's plenty of tutorials on YouTube. There's firms that you can hire to help you from an outsourcing perspective. There's also independent contractors as well that can help you. There's a multitude of ways to fit within your budget to be able to get the narrative and the data points and story that you need to drive your business forward. Number two, forecast the future. So we want to look 90 days ahead, what's coming in, what's going out. We want to identify gaps early and adjust before it's a crisis. So we want to make sure that we are, at the end of the day, what we're really doing is we're mitigating our risk. We want to understand our risk. We want to manage our risk. There's always going to be risk. But the more that we can be ahead of that risk and we can understand what the risk is, the better that we're going to do. And cash flow is an important aspect of making sure that we can manage that. Number three, speed up inflows. So you might have heard me early in the segment say you may get terms on your payables, so what you owe your vendors. We want to take advantage of those terms. We don't want to pay any sooner than we need to. But on the other side of that, we want to get cash in as fast as we can. So we want to invoice immediately. As soon as we close the deal, we want to get that invoice out right away. We don't want to wait. We don't want any lag time because at the end of the day, just like I told you that you don't want to pay before your terms, other companies that are your customers or individuals that are your customers, they're doing the same exact thing. When I get a utility bill um, for my house, I know exactly how long I can go, um, within that period. even if it says like the due date, there's like a grace period. Even with my mortgage or things like that, like I pay within my grace period. I've never been late, but I pay within my grace period. I want to keep that cash as long as possible, and I want to float it. So I know that that is how it has been helpful for me, and likely your customers are going to do the same thing to you. So you want to make sure you invoice immediately, not later. We want to offer small discounts or incentives to make people pay earlier. So that could be 5%, that could be 10%, whatever it may be, and whatever makes sense from a metrics perspective for your business. We want to make sure that we can incentivize people right away to pay early. Uh, and then lastly, we want to use online payments to reduce delays. So the days of receiving a check or someone coming to the brick and mortar to pay, those days are gone. Yes, people can still do that, and it's fine if you have that as an option, right? You want to have optionality when you're dealing with customers because every customer is different. Some may not feel comfortable using online because of all the fraud, right? They might want to come pay in person, whatever it may be, if that's an option. But we want to have the option to pay online because that will streamline this and that will give us the best possibility of getting the money as quickly as possible. Number four, slow down outflows. So we talked about this. We want to negotiate the best terms possible with our vendors. We want to stagger expenses instead of lumping them together. And then we want to automate recurring bills so you never miss a payment. Now, while I tend to try to ride out my grace period as long as possible, and I still want to make sure that I never miss a payment, and I want to make sure that I always pay on time, because the worst thing that you can do is build poor, bad rapport with your vendors, and for them to believe that, hey, I can't trust this customer to actually pay me on time. So we want to make sure that we are being, it is important to be loyal in that way and to make sure that we are following through with our obligations. That's very important. Number five, build a cash buffer. So we want to aim for 1 to 3 months of operating expenses in reserve. And sometimes I even say for early stage startups, we want even more than that, right? If we can get to that 6 to 12 months, that's great. If you're 12 to 18 months, like you're really rocking it, right? But we also don't want to have so much cash in reserves that we're stunting our growth, right? That we're missing our opportunity to catch lightning in the bottle. We want it's a perfect balance. It's like a marriage. You got to there's it's give and take, right? You want to be able to find that perfect balance of how do I build a buffer, but then how do I also invest in growth? So, you know, I want you to treat it like it's a non-negotiable emergency fund. And then, once we get a little bit more sophisticated, then we can think about, hey, how do we invest some of this money? How do we make some of that money work for us, right? But at the end of the day, we want to make sure that we have a cash buffer. So I want to ask you a question, and I want you to reflect. This is a reflection for you all this week. First question is, do you know how much cash is in your business account right now and what's leaving in the next 30 days? So I'm going to say that one more time. Do you know exactly how much cash is in your business account right now and what's leaving in the next 30 days? If you don't, that's okay, but let's figure it out. That's why I prompted you for this question. We want to know how much cash. We should be looking at this every single day. When I was running my startup, I woke up before I even got to the office. The first thing I did was look at my bank account. What is the balance? When I got to work, I pulled up my cash flow statement, my weekly cash flow statement. And I said, okay, here's how much cash I expect to come out today, tomorrow, the next day, so forth and so on. And then I had obviously looking to see, okay, how does that change and balance, and also how much money do I have coming in, right? And understand what is that delta, and what does that do to the change in balance that I see in my account today. And I think that's important because oftentimes we look at the cash we have in the bank and it might say, oh, well, gosh, I got $1 million. But you might have $200,000 of expenses coming out this week and maybe only 50,000 of revenue coming in this week. Well, you got $150,000 delta there. So actually, I don't really have $1 million. I actually got $850,000. So we want to know what the true balance is, and that's what a cash flow statement, what a cash flow projection does for you. So the second question is, if revenue stopped tomorrow, how many weeks could your business survive? And this goes into that forecasting and understanding your future cash flow and how much is coming in and coming out, right? We want to know, what is our runway? How long could we survive if revenue stopped today? And also, I often say there's three scenarios that we need to prepare for whenever we're running a forecast. We should have a base case. This is what we believe, right? We should have a worst case. This is our pessimistic view of the business. So if this happens in the economy, or this happens with my largest customer and they leave, what does that do to my business, right? And then also best case, like, okay, I got this. I'm looking at my sales pipeline and I got 30 deals in the sales pipeline. Maybe 10 of them are going to close for sure. Maybe 10 more are on the fence. But I believe that I can get them over the hump, right? That might be your best case. And what does that do to my cash flow, right? So we want to be able to understand that. So your action step for this week is map out your next 90 days of cash flow, identify gaps, and commit to at least one step to either speed up inflows or slow down outflows. So I'll say that one more time. Your action step for this week is to map out your next 90 days of cash flow, identify gaps, and commit to at least one step of either speeding up inflows, meaning cash you're receiving from your customers, or slowing down outflows, which means cash that you're paying to your vendors. So I'll close with this. Um, Strong cash flow keeps your business balanced and stable. Just like a strong core keeps your body moving, cash flow is what lets your business grow and endure. So we want to be strategic with our cash flow. We want to understand it very well because at the end of the day, it's our core and it's what's going to let your business grow. And it's also going to be what's going to let your business endure those tough times because tough times are going to come. It's inevitable. And then, with that being said, our episode next week is we're going to talk about knowing when and how to hire. This is one of the biggest issues that plagues a lot of early business owners is you start to see success, whether that's raising capital, whether that's revenue, whether it's a combination of them all, and you go into hiring mode right away, but not necessarily understanding when we need to hire, how we need to hire, and that's where your cash flow statement comes into um, becomes of the utmost importance because we should be projecting out, we should be forecasting these hires, we should be understanding how that affects our cash flow, we should be understanding what is our ROI and what is the time horizon for us to get an ROI on those hires. Maybe you're hiring some sales reps, how long is it going to take them to ramp up? How many deals do we expect them to close in a year? What does that do to our cash flow, right? So these are all questions that we should be asking ourselves if we're not already. So my call to action for you, if this episode helps you at all and resonated with you as a business owner or founder entrepreneur, please share it with someone else. Please spread the word. I'd love to help other founders. At the end of the day, I believe my vocation in this world is to help others and to provide value to others. I hope that I can provide value in a way that helps people avoid some of the pitfalls that I had when I launched my business, but also help, provide guidance, really free guidance on the things that I'm doing every single day with other founders that I work with as a fractional CFO. So with that being said, as I always say, it's not about how much money you make. The power is in how much money you keep. Thank you so much for tuning in today to the Financially Fit podcast. I'm your host, Andre Creighton. I'll see y'all in the next episode of Financially Fit.
You know Shaletta makes you laugh, but did you know Shaletta Brundage can also make you think and boost your business? Media personality, activist, and comedian Shaletta Brundage founded Shaletta Makes Me Laugh to celebrate and share the best of Black culture. It's a podcasting platform. You can download 10 weekly podcasts hosted by African-American subject experts at ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com is also a production house, creating broadcast quality commercial content. And Shaletta and her team of storytellers create powerful promotional campaigns to get businesses the brand awareness they're looking for. Some of Minnesota's top businesses trust Shaletta, and you can too. Get out the word about your events and products and get in front of communities of color with ShalettaMakesMeLaugh.com. She's got the power to help your business.
When I walked across that stage at my high school graduation, I was excited, but confused about my next step. Then I walked through the doors at Doherty Family College. Doherty Family College is part of the University of St. Thomas. It's a 2-year college that lets you earn an associate's degree and puts you on a path to your bachelor's degree. Classes are small, so I have a personal relationship with professors committed to my success. Like the name says, they treat us like family. They call us scholars because they believe we could do anything we put our minds to. They set us up for excellence with free tutoring, and that's not the only thing that's free. Laptops, books, even breakfast and lunch, and bus fare. That's part of the package here at Doherty Family College. It's even free to apply. So do like I did. Go to dfc.stthomas.edu and set up a tour. We'd be excited to welcome you to our family here at Doherty Family College.
To keep my home running smooth, I count on Xfinity Internet. With 99.9% reliability, we're all online at once. No slowdowns. The Xfinity app lets me manage our Wi-Fi and keep things secure. Xfinity makes it easy.